clothing. Yep.
I think one time I like opened up like your podcast and I was like scrolling through and there was just like controversy on like, would a man want to be with someone that does sex work? And I was just like, what kind of question is that? Because everybody's so different. Like, why does that one factor matter? I feel like someone's job, it's like, why would a woman that's young like me want to marry a guy that works a 9-to-5 office job? To me, that seems kind of boring. You know, like, why not a sexy fireman? I mean, like, everybody has a different
Why would it be boring
preference.
to marry a guy who works a 9-to-5? Isn't that a perfectly respectful career path?
To me, it's just boring.
So the same objection you have to wanting to date a man who's a blue-collar worker, for example, who works 9-to-5, why can't men have the exact same objection to dating a woman who fucks other people on camera?
No. Well, I'm just saying I don't like the talk. Like, if the question was like, why would a man want to date a sex worker? It's like, well, you could ask that question about anything. Like, why would you want to date someone from Walmart? Why would you want to date someone who works at a pet store? But everybody's different, you know? So that topic was like irritating for me because I was like,
why is it irritating to you?
Because it just doesn't, in my like, with the work that I've done, like, I've had 2 people propose to me already and I've said no, and I do sex work and they didn't see me any differently based on that.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of the conversations we've had on this show, honestly, I kind of don't really care when it comes to if women do sex work. I don't really care. But my prescriptive advice that I give to men is dating a woman who is involved in sex work or was involved in sex work is a suboptimal dating choice. So maybe that's your objection there. Men and women can have any preferences, standards, and boundaries that they want. But I mean, let me ask you a question. Can you try to argue my position for me? So argue, why would somebody not want to date a sex worker? Like, can you think of any reasons?
Maybe someone that's...
You about to say insecure? It sounded like you're about to say insecure there. No, I'm not asking what's wrong with that person. I'm saying what would be some reasons why somebody would not, like, negative consequences of dating someone who's involved in sex work.
Maybe someone that has a business, they don't want the idea of their partner to like ruin their reputation.
Sure. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Someone that doesn't want to share their person with somebody else, with anybody else.
Okay. Anything else?
Valid.
Oh, it's valid.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making my argument for me.
It's valid.
Oh,
I just
so
don't like.
it's valid.
I just don't like that it's like a common topic. That's just was irritating to me. Like, why is it always like? Why would a man want to be with a sex worker?
Well,
like,
here, look. Just to be charitable, women who do sex work invariably will probably. There's a bit of a cope when it comes to this conversation. I think if a woman's involved in sex work, she'll probably find a guy. Like, this whole cope of like she's gonna be a cat lady and never find a man. Mm-hmm. It's cope, especially if she's, attractive and not a total piece of shit. She'll probably find a guy. However, I will say, and in terms of prescriptive advice to men that I give, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend men date sex workers. I think it's a suboptimal dating choice. And sometimes you're not always going to get the most optimum partner in your life, but it is significantly suboptimal for various reasons. And I think the other thing is, just slipped my mind. But anyways, yeah.
Can I ask you please, what are your reasons for why it's suboptimal? Like, why would you?
Sure.
Yeah. Like, she gave some reasons. No.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I'll give you a couple. So first off, for example, women who do OnlyFans, and actually try not to bring this topic up just to be, I suppose, courteous to the women if we do have OnlyFans girls on the show, just not to throw your hustle totally under the fucking bus. But y'all become very well practiced in deception and manipulation and lying.
Yep.
Here's why. Because most of you sell the girlfriend experience, and you basically commit, in my estimation, you commit fraud by saying, I'm talking to you. I'm not saying all OnlyFans girls do this, but most of them do. The bigger they are, the more likely they are to have, for example, a typer or to have a chatter. But you're advertising yourself as saying, I'm talking to you. So you become very well versed in fraud and lying. And you have no issue with it whatsoever. So you become accustomed and adjusted to making small lies, and small lies become big lies. So that's one of my issues that I have with it.
So it's
most of these sex
OnlyFans.
workers are incredibly attuned to manipulation and lying.
Can I defend just my personal experience?
Actually, don't we have a tweet related? Some girl had a tweet about this. Fuck, hold on. Let me see if I don't know. Oh man, I don't know if we only have one tweet, right, Nick? Yeah. Oh man, I could have sworn that. I'm gonna double check, but do you guys acknowledge that girls who do OnlyFans have typers?
Yes, many of them.
Many of them, yeah.
Many of them do. That's the ones
And
that are like online 24/7.
What do they even put in their bio? You can talk to me, right?
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't
you're
like
lying.
that. That's
You're
a practice.
lying.
I'm very
It's
against.
fraud. It's literally
personally,
fraud.
I'm very against having
Okay.
management companies and all that stuff.
Sure. So that's one of my justifications for it. In addition to that, OnlyFans girls will typically hide the fact that they're in a relationship. So you just become very well versed and practiced in your deception and manipulation, because if you were honest about the fact that you're dating a guy or you're married or you have a relationship, it would hurt your bottom line. Secondly, when it comes to the typing and chatting thing, if you were telling the guys, by the way, it's some dude in Bangladesh who's getting paid $5 a day to be sexting with you, and you're sexting with the dude, it would hurt your bottom line. So you're doing this sort of fraudulent misrepresentation. On that level, I object to it. In addition, in terms of the actual content that you're making, and I actually think the fraudulent misrepresentation is worse than the fact that there's nude photos of you floating around the internet.
Same. We agree on that.
So, for
What about
example,
people
like,
in sales?
huh?
What about people in sales? What do you think about them?
If they're making fraudulent claims and they're enticing people, it's called fraudulent inducement into fraudulent I can't remember the specific legal term, but it could open someone up to civil liability if they lie about their product.
True, but people in sales, I feel like, do it all the time.
Well, so there's a sales principle called puffery.
like leaving things out of the.
Well,
of
I
the
mean,
equation.
it depends
Is
what.
that technically considered
object.
lying or fraud if something is intentionally left out?
Can I interject?
When making a sale?
Can I interject? Because here's the thing. I used to work for Jenny Craig for 3.5 years as a program director. I'm not selling lies. I'm selling hope and like the fascination that they're going to be able to lose weight, right? You are instilling hope and faith in these men that they have a shot with you. So I think that's part of what Brian is saying too, is sort of like you guys are you painting this fantasy like, oh baby, I only want you. I'm only thinking of you. You're gaslighting them.
But I think everybody's
almost all men do to women so that they can get into their pants.
That's
on a
90%
regular
of
basis.
OnlyFans.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I can acknowledge that that's wrong, can you acknowledge that women doing it is also wrong?
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't have I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Okay.
But I just think
Exactly.
that the standard should be the same for men when it comes to their interactions with women, because they will also act like, oh, I want to be with you, when they really just want to sleep with somebody.
But they're not getting paid for it.
Don't the men already have this understanding?
We know
that
somebody
they're
that gets
not-
paid for it. We know some men that get paid for it. Yeah.
Do these
some
these
men get
men
paid for
actually
it.
buy into the thought that these women are interested in them?
Absolutely. I mean, how much money are they spending?
I think
Look
it's genuinely a fetish for men that they
It's like
want
degradation.
I mean, and I think at the same time, it's
Findom.
also in a way healthy for men that need some sort of somebody to talk to. And like for me, that's what I make my platform about. Like you have like a place to come and be yourself and express when you're lonely
While
or
you're
when
naked and
sad.
fingering yourself.
And
Only if
no,
they
them.
pay.
I'm talking
though.
about them, not me. But like I think sex work is super important, because I think if we didn't have it, that there would be a lot of men that have needs that aren't getting met, and that makes things dangerous.
So your argument is if there wasn't sex work, that men would just be on a rampage, just like essaying chicks.
be
Is
that
the argument?
15%.
I think it would be
I
scary.
mean, that's what porn is for. The only difference between OnlyFans and porn is that they get a reaction from you as opposed from porn. That's the only difference. You are technically porn. That's
It's
what
like an
OnlyFans is.
interactive
Exactly.
experience.
Can I ask
So-
you something, Brian? Do you support capitalism?
Oh, you're libertarian. Okay, I know where you're going. Yeah, I'm in favor of capitalism.
Okay, so there's a market for OnlyFans. So do you equally hold the men who create the market accountable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold these men who like pay for these girls' OnlyFans in high regard. And
Right,
I
but let's say
advocate-
your guy friend comes to you and he's like, I want to get this girl's OnlyFans. Are you just saying, well, you shouldn't because she's X, Y, and Z, or are you also like, hey, like you should probably contribute to society in a better way than creating this market which objectifies women and can lead to all the negative things that you talk about?
Well, there's supply and demand, right? So,
Right. So if you're a capitalist.
yeah, I don't have anything wrong with capitalism. I don't actually, frankly, I don't give a fuck about sex work. But I look at it from a dating lens. So my prescriptive advice to men is don't date a woman who has photos of herself fucking other men on camera.
And I think that's
Simple.
fine. I'm just wondering if you also tell men like, hey, you probably shouldn't be
And
subscribing
I don't
to
have a
this
double
stuff.
standard on this.
Okay.
Ladies, if you don't
But
want
not
to
everyone
date,
that does OnlyFans fucks men on camera.
that's fine. But it's not like I have a double standard on this. Women, if you don't want to date a man who's a porn star, that's totally fine. I don't have like, so this is kind of not like a gendered thing necessarily, but
So
Well,
do you
I
think
I think like when it comes to dominance in a man, I find it way more attractive and way more dominant when a man holds other men accountable. Like that's when I view a man as a real leader. It's easy for men to sit around and be like, you shouldn't want a woman who does da da da. But it's harder for a man to be like, hey, homie, you probably shouldn't be subscribing to this shit.
I make this prescriptive claim all the time. I say, men, you shouldn't even be following women on Instagram. You shouldn't. I don't follow
That's fair.
any girls on Instagram. You shouldn't be liking their shit, simping for them, leaving fucking lame ass comments. That's me holding men accountable. Men should not do that. They shouldn't be paying for OF. They shouldn't be subscribing to it. But
That's
like,
good.
I don't really give a like. Would society probably be better if there wasn't like porn and sex work? Probably. At the end of the
100% it
day,
would be.
though, I'm not like, I typically, that's why when I do have OF girls or sex workers on, I'm typically not making actual like criticisms of that specifically. It's always from a dating lens where I'm basically saying, guys, it's suboptimal to date a woman who has an OnlyFans.
And you're saying it's because of
not
the
porn.
characteristics that
But if
come
they're a
with
porn
that.
star,
No,
then it's-
porn's worse.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
I mean, well, OF is I mean, if she just does traditional porn, and then she does OF, there's like different considerations there. I mean, look, most of these OF girls are just like constant liars.
Pick
They
me
lie
girls.
about everything. We've had them on the show. They lie about their age. They lie about everything. They make up stories for content. Blah blah blah. That's why I'm. In any case, so look, I think it is suboptimal. So yeah, I don't know.
it's just
Oh, here's the other. I mean, the other reason. I mean, I kind of already touched on it. As a woman, your future husband and children will not appreciate naked photos of you being available on the internet. There's like the potential for bullying for the child,
Don't have kids.
and just as somebody.
Their round meatball donated
you, Mr.
$200.
Thank you.
Brian is right on the money.
He's a brave
Thank
and
you, Mr.
decent
Meatball.
man. He's a pioneer.
It's good to have you back, man. Good to have you back. Thank you, bro. Look, I mean, you're doing it. It is what it is. But, yeah.
That's a great
what
comment.
these women don't like this.
I think these type of conversations also come up really often because a lot of like the sex workers that we have had on the show are like struggling really hard to find someone.
Christ is Lord Ski U4 donated $200. So, the sex industry is helping men? The human race got along just fine without hardcore porn for literally all human history, for thousands of years. Is our society evolving or unraveling?
Probably
Unraveling.
Definitely evolving.
Unraveling is what's happening. We are
Arcade days,
unraveling.
they were hosting like sex parties. There's like mentions of like all kinds of orgies and
I
live
mean, the
sex and all
Romans were
kinds of
definitely turning
historical
up like.
slabs and shit.
Yeah, go back
like,
to Greece, man. They was fucking
were
everywhere.
fucking.
They was.
They was
I mean,
fucking.
honestly, then naked women were considered art.
They just
and
had
they
their
were
titties out.
statues everywhere.
It was
I mean, you could
natural,
argue that it's about the
natural,
same. You could
it's not
argue that
nice, it's
without
just a
It's the
body.
same things
Corn.
happening now,
The
except
fact-
they're
no,
recording it and selling it.
You could say that
Yeah.
without corn, they were doing more
It was
in-person
not even
stuff.
Kilo of cereal donated $200.